Welcome to week 8, the Shore Football Report. I cannot believe we're in week 8. I'm Rob Davis, and there's Scott Stump here for another great week of high school football talk. Scott, what do you think?
I mean, this is it, right? Last week of the regular season, we're gearing up for playoffs, do or die time for a couple teams. Like this week
Playoffs?
is always a lot of fun. And again, you're starting to get that playoff fever now. We're only 1 week away from the postseason. We'll know the brackets soon. Finally, we can start predicting who's going to do what. Can't wait to see all the matchups. And yeah, you have a few teams fighting for their lives. Are you going to be in the postseason? Are you going to be in the crossover games? So yeah, this is always a wild. Coaches always calling up, texting, "What season are we? Where are we going to be at? Who are we playing? Are we on the road? Are we at home? Are we all this?" So yeah, this is always a wild week, but an exciting one.
It's a very sensitive word. It's playoffs. Playoffs. You can say it to certain teams. You can almost kind of say it to others, and others you don't even talk about playoffs. It's sickening. It's sickening. The word playoffs scares a lot of people off, or you get excited with that. But you're right. They have now the what I call the NIT playoffs, the consolation round. You know what they're doing, right? If you don't make the playoffs, teams 17 to 24 are going to be in a 8-team NIT bracket, like consolation
Right. They're
tournament.
trying to incentivize those games and add a little bit more juice to them because historically teams are opting out of them or one team shows up all excited to play, the other team mails it in. So I think they're just trying to make those games a little bit more meaningful.
Or you can opt out. So by Tuesday of this week, you are to tell the state we are in the playoffs or the consolation. And if you say you're out, then you're not involved and they move on without you.
I mean, usually the only time I've seen that kind of stuff is certain parochials, non-publics, if they feel like they're just completely overmatched in a playoff game against one of these state
Yeah.
juggernauts,
Yeah.
they'll tap out of the bracket and go play like a game against a public school that's more like competitive with them, but you don't see it a whole lot. And then you have teams that, hey, they might be struggling just to have enough guys to field the team by the end of the year if they're a small school, so they end up not playing. But
I've seen a lot of
bull crap. Yeah, these games they're obviously overshadowed by the actual NJSA playoff games, so they're just trying to give some sort of incentive to have teams want to play another couple games here.
There's so many scenarios out there, who they're playing, even a consolation. We don't know what the state, how they're going to direct those consolation games. So when they call you or I up, we have no clue what's going on.
We have we have a rough idea, but we can't say something definitively because I can't tell you how many years where, well, we just found out this team had an eligible player the last 2 weeks.
Right.
That now pins 2 more losses on them. It changes the entire formula. This seed goes up here. You were home. Now you're on the road. You were in. You're out. So it's really tough to ever say anything is in concrete until the NJSA release. There's been times where the NJSA has released the bracket and then even revised it after they released it.
Scott, add to the fact there's a thing called now an OSI. And what is the OSI? Well, to make things, I'm going to talk about that later on, but your SI is your ego thing. It's how good you are. The OSI is you're taking everybody's SI and you divide it by how many games you played. And what gets affected? When teams blow people out. When teams blow people out, it changes their SI, so you inherit a lower SI of theirs. And I'm going to explain that later on in the show, how that affects everybody, because whoever played that team whose SI lowered, now your OSI is going to be lowered too. It's hard to compute. It's so hard to compute. And there's a lot of games out there where their scores are like 85-6, and it does nothing for them. It actually lowers them. And I'll explain that later. But
I'm just glad you're the math guy. I'm the journalism guy, so you can handle that explanation.
I'm being a media guy now. I see the pulse of teams in the summer. Everybody puts their hand in. Let's break on championship. And then from that point on, it starts getting a little bit lower and lower each week. It's sickening because we are 2 years, 3 years removed from COVID, where we kept saying, who cares about the records? Let's just play because we love football. We kiss the ground. Now it's like if there's a word called meaningless. These are meaningless games, which I think is bullcrap because, listen, you need to readjust your goals and all that stuff. And you're playing football, which is 10 to 12 weeks of your life. Have fun with it. And these people are, this isn't fun. We're going to be a 16 seed. Why are we even doing it? Or we're not in the playoffs. I can't wait for basketball. Terrible. It
Go
bothers
a little
me.
easy on basketball there.
Yeah.
But
But it
anyway,
just,
no, I mean, I think you're right in the sense that, especially if you're a senior, this might be the last time you ever put on the pads and, prepare with your friends, hang out with your buddies, like go out there and give it everything you have. So yeah, you'd like to hope that guys are going to go out there and give max effort. But yeah, I've seen it over the years. There's been crazy mismatches in those crossover games where one team really is raring to play. What you usually see is a team that has a lot of guys coming back the next year, a lot of sophomores, a lot of juniors. They will take those games way seriously because they're using that as a springboard. Hey, if we go out and pound this team this year, we're going to take that into the offseason with some momentum. But if it's a senior team that disappointed expectations and things like that, you sometimes see them just go in and say, forget it. We're on to wrestling or basketball.
tank it. We call it tanking. They tank. Yeah, they're tanking it. They're trying to get the lottery pick. That eighth grader. That eighth grader.
The only thing
pick.
is there is nothing at the end of that rainbow.
No.
There is no lottery
No.
pick. There is no number one pick in the draft.
No, there's usually an administrator waiting at the door saying, "See me Monday morning."
But no, I just this week though is always so fun because there might be the crazy upset that just causes all kinds of chaos in the bracket. Everybody, all these coaches, they do their own projections.
Right.
So they have everything kind of laid out. And then it's, wait, what? That team won or they
Yeah.
lost? Oh, God, now we got to reconfigure all of it. So I think that's what's so fun about this week. It can descend into like crazy chaos in a matter of hours when teams start getting upset or like, blowing a lead. Oh, they're ahead by 2 touchdowns, so we should probably just pencil them in. They're going to be this seed. Wait, they lost? That's what's so fun about this week.
We didn't make the playoffs one year, and the state put us with a team, Shabazz. Okay, all of a sudden, Barnegat, who just missed the playoffs, is playing a team in North Jersey, Shabazz. He calls me up. He's like, "Dude, I don't want to play you. You don't want to play us, right?" I'm like, what? We had a play on a Thursday at 6:00 to travel to Shabazz. Somehow the game got canceled. It's crazy. But the state is trying purposely to play competitive games after your 7-8. And that's what it's all about.
Well, and I think because the other thing is they shortened the regular season, right?
Yeah.
Because we're playing to a group champion now.
Yeah.
Teams used to play into November, the first weekend of November, regardless whether you made the playoffs or not. But now that's been shortened because you need that extra weekend for the extra rounds of the playoffs that you're going to have. And a lot of teams have scrapped Thanksgiving. So yeah, if you don't participate in the crossover games or anything, your season could end this weekend.
Yeah, it stinks,
So
and the people complain.
Scott, that like before Halloween, your football season is even done. That's like hard to fathom.
Well, the people that are complaining about football now, it's the end of the year, we're not good, whatever. Once 2 weeks removed, you'll be wishing those days back. You really were. So that just irks me as a